Captain Sharma, when it comes to ranks, petty officer or seaman class 2, there was a study, I believe, which was done internally, sir. What emerged from this study, and why are these changes being brought about, Captain Sharma?
Good evening, Gaurav. First of all, let me wish each and every Indian a very happy Navy Day.
And to you,
May
sir.
our Navy grow and continue growing every single day and make our chests swell with pride and honor every day. Now, coming back to the ranks and all, Gaurav, things have changed. We are heading towards a gender-neutral Navy. Our ranks, if you see it, it's Seaman. Seaman class 1, Seaman class 2, leading seaman, petty officer. And by the way, this petty word, we had a lot of, the discussions on it, and it's time now. And you see, we must see the history of Indian Navy. We are from the Royal Navy, then we split into two, the Pak Navy, the Indian Navy, and now see where our stature is. We are amongst the first 5 navies of the world. We are much, much ahead of what the Royal Navy is today. We are operating nuclear submarines. We are a carrier operating Navy and a very potent force at that. So now, when our stature has gone up, our standing amongst the world navies is so much, our understanding, our professional acumen is way beyond what people, from where we started. So I don't see anything wrong in, now getting back to our own and, giving a new nomenclature to our ranks, which will be, of course, gender neutral, well studied, and will have a maritime character to it.
Fair enough. So, Admiral Sinha, at Sindhudurg, Prime Minister paid rich tributes to Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. For a modern Navy, what's the importance of one, Chhatrapati Shivaji, and of course, Admiral Kanhoji Angre?
Well, Gaurav, the most important thing is to remind people that the naval forces have existed, not only from 16th, 17th century when Shivaji was around, but it goes back to days of Chanakya and Chandragupta Maurya. Even they had a navy. There is a mention in the Arthashastra, if you see, and they called the naval ship by some name. So I think that we have to go back to our historical roots to say that we are not the first ones. We were a strong navy, and Shivaji gave a very hard time to Dutch, to the Portuguese, and the British. You know that the INS Angre, yes, the old building where the flag officer commanding in chief's office is, it has been hit by the Shivaji and is later on by Kanhoji Angre by very long distance fire. It's been bombed so many times, and that building has withstood. You can still go and see the bullet marks, the big shell marks. You got a tree there which is more than 350 years old. So what I'm saying is that it reminds us, the bullets remind us that we were a strong navy, but we have not gone back to the roots and realized that potential that yes, we can do without these ranks.
Very interesting point that you raise. And let me take this to General Sani. General Sani, if we were to do away with names like Hodsons or Napiers, is this in a very subtle way no longer being subservient to that British culture? Because our military scholars, we study Sun Tzu and we must understand the enemy's mind, or even Clausewitz. But do our scholar warriors study, as the Admiral also put it, the Chanakya Niti? Do we have Indian military strategy, sir? Traditional Indian military strategy?
No, I think, Gaurav, let's put it that I think today, as much as we study about Sun Tzu and Little Art, I think Arthashastra and the teachings of Chanakya, which was much more than just a military treatise. It talked about statecraft and governance and issues related to that, and where the army or the military was an instrument of power, and he utilized that correctly. And we use all that colloquial terminologies which come out of it very soundly in our training and including in our lexion when we're talking and discussing amongst ourselves as professionals. So I don't think it may not have been given that much kind of recognition as Sun Tzu's and Little Heart's name has been given, but undoubtedly, I think Arthashastra and Chanakya Niti is very much on the cards. Today, the whole story of deception, surprise, strategic surprise, tactical surprise is linked into issues to use the cat and mouse game of reward and punishment. They're all linked to that. That is the first issue. So I think I would say Yes, it may not have been used so often and not so visibly, but yes, it is understood and utilized in our understanding when we are talking about it within our professional sphere. That is the first issue. Second issue, I think doing away with names is not a problem at all. Today, as I told you, official lists of the military do not in any way reflect any of these. But yes, colloquially, it's a generational shift. As generations move on, Connaught Place has lost recognition as Connaught Place, but has become Rajiv Gandhi Chowk. I mean, as you've seen, it's a transition I've seen in the last 30, 40 years itself. So I think in the same manner, you would find that these things might lose out because there are newer histories being written. There are post-independence, starting off with what happened at Zojela with the armored units, today with armor and mech units deployed today at Kailash range. There are stories which will add to the valor and the history of those, that it will dim these old Lexian names which we were used to when we got...
Very important point, sir, and I will have to let that be the last word on this part of the show, because this is a debate that we will continue to take forward so that we learn more about our history, our culture, our traditions, and take it forward to our future generations.